Okay, guys, here's the worksheet for today. You're going to be doing questions 7 through 12 today on here, and then we're going to continue working on the rest of them on Monday. And you're basically going to split up the work. If you read the paragraph and it's an observational study, then you're going to write it on the top. And there's a couple things you got to fill out. If it's an experiment, then it's on the bottom. So you're going to fill it out on the bottom, and you're going to, answer all those questions. So like on the top, if it's an observational study, you'll write down what exercise is it. Oh, question number 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever. Then you'll tell me, was it retrospective or prospective? We've talked about that this week. Who the subjects are. Oh, some tomato plants, or 500 people from the high school or whatever. The parameter of interest, kind of what you're testing, okay, what you're testing. And then the conclusion. Was there any cause and effect? Is the study look legit? Things like that. Okay, and you'll see what I wrote in a minute. On the bottom, if it's an experiment, you'll write down what problem it is, number 6 or number 7, number 8, whatever it is. Factors and their levels. So like what if you're looking at commercials and you notice that there's some that are 30 seconds long and some are 60 seconds long. Okay, so your factors are commercial length, 30 seconds, and 60 seconds. Okay, so there's 2 factors there. Number of treatments. These are like the number of groups. So what if you have just those 2 groups, 30-second commercials and 60-second commercials? Then there'll be 2 treatments. But what if you had another thing that was looking at the commercials? Then you might wind up having 4 groups or 6 groups. So basically, tell me how many groups you're going to have. That's what treatments are. Response variable. What is the variable you're looking for at the end? Like on that tomato question, you're looking for, are the tomatoes juicier and are they tastier? So that would be the response variable. The design, was it completely randomized? Was it blocked or was it matched? We haven't talked about matched much, okay? But if you think it was completely randomized, sweet, write that down. If you think it was blocked, so there was some grouping involved, write that. And then the matched part, if it is matched, I'll help you with that next week. The blinding part. Blinding, I haven't talked about it much, but you should have read about it in the book. But if there is some blinding, no blinding means like there's nobody that's kind of in the dark about what group they're in. If there is some people that don't know that they're in group A or B or something, then that's blinding. Okay, so there is a single blind. So if the people don't know that they're actually taking a placebo pill, or if they don't know they're taking the real pill, then there's a single blind. A double blind would be if the people don't know what kind of pill they're taking, but the experiment people don't know either. So it was randomized on both ends. That would be a double blind. Okay, so if it's an experiment, tell me if there's any blinding going on. And then in conclusion, what can you come up with? Hey, the cause and effect was this. There was no cause and effect, whatever, stuff like that. You'll put in the conclusion. All right, let's take a look at one problem. Question number 8. I skipped 7, so you'll do 7, and then here's 8. You'll fill this one out, and then you'll do 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay. So 8 says, among a group of disabled women aged 65 and older who were tracked for several years, those who had a vitamin B12 deficiency were twice as likely to suffer severe depression as those who did not. Okay, so these women were over 65 and they were tracked for several years. Tracked means they were grouped up first, then they tracked them after that for several years, and they were checking their B12 deficiencies if they had any, and found out that they're more likely to have depression if they had this deficiency. Okay. Now, here's the answers. This was a observational study. So I wrote this on the top of the paper. So my exercise, this was question number 8. It was prospective. Okay, so I put that in the second column because prospective means that they grouped them up and then they tracked them for several years after that. So it was happening after you originally designed the experiment. So it's prospective. The subjects, there was disabled women that were the age 65 or older, and they were also kind of testing their B12, whether they had it or did not have the deficiency, but I didn't fit that in there. So disabled women age 65 and older were the subjects. The parameter, that was the percentage in each group suffering from depression. So what we want to examine, what do we want to test? And that was, how many people were suffering depression. So that's your parameter, okay? Almost like the response variable, okay, in an experiment. All right, and then the conclusion, this is an observation, so there's no cause and effect because there's no randomness going on, but there is some validity to this data. Might need to expand it to have even more women, or maybe even men too, in this study. But doing the study again and again and again with different groups of people might point to the results being even stronger. So I would write something like that there in the conclusion. Now, if your problem is an experiment, then you'll fill out the bottom part and say question whatever, and then fill out the whole bottom part. This was just an example of the top. All right. Hopefully you can do 7 through 12. We'll look at it a little bit on Monday to finish it up. Go all the way to question 18. We'll do that on Monday. And make sure you get this done. All right. See you guys.